Hey you guys. All right, I have another tutorial video for you today. Today we're going to talk about the hinge or the deadlift. It would be called in other modalities. Okay, so and you've probably heard Romanian, stiff leg deadlift, things like that. All of it is the same movement pattern. So we're going to talk about hinging from the seat crease, okay? Now, the reason I'm going over this today is because this is probably the number one movement pattern I see difficulty in for my students. And so I want, as an instructor, if you are an instructor as well, I hope to give you some cues today that you can use to get people into the right position. And if you're a student and you practice, to hopefully make you aware in your body if any of these things possibly are happening. Okay, so I have my yoga block here as well. It's a handy prop. Also the Pilates ring is another one, and I'll show you how to use that if you do teach and you have students that tend to round their shoulders as they work. The props used at the front of the body can really help get them to stop doing that. Okay, all right, anyway, so what we're gonna start with is our feet a little bit wider than your hips, okay? A little bit more than that narrow standing stance, just a little bit wider, more like your standard squat, okay? Now, your toes are gonna be pointed forward. Now, that being said, for your body, everybody's a little different, right? And you may tend to stand with a slight rotation, a slight external rotation where the toes are pointed out just a bit. That's okay. If that is how your body naturally falls, that's where I would like you to be, okay? Now, I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see what happens from this point on, because front view won't give you much. We're gonna hinge. Now, the number one thing I see is rounding of the shoulders and the back when people hinge, and I'm gonna show you both ways. But I want you to keep the chest open. It's very important that we do that. So first, what I want you to do is all 10 toes are flat on the floor. Okay, we've got a nice foot connection on both sides. We're gonna soften the knees. So go ahead and just give them a baby bend. You can bounce it a little bit, just a little soft bend so you're light in the kneecaps. Okay, nothing is locked out and stiff. So give them a little bend. Okay, now from here, I want you to take your hands and feel for where the leg meets the hip. There's a crease right there. That's where we fold when we sit down. That is your seat crease, right? It folds when we sit down, so hence the term seat crease. So seat crease, right there, that little divot. So feel for that. Keep your hands there. So I have my palms up and my pinky fingers right at that seat crease. And now I'm gonna hinge over my palms. Okay, so I want you to draw the belly button up and in like we always do. I want you to roll the shoulders down and back so that we have a coat hanger, right, at the shoulders, nice strong shoulder girdle. And we're gonna fold, keeping the back flat. I want you to practice folding at that seat crease, not letting anything else change. So I'm making a sandwich with my hands, right? Between my thighs and my pelvis, I've closed that gap a little bit. So my hands are in there pretty tight. Okay, now you can remove your hands, bring them to prayer. Now in this position, back should be flat. So I'm thinking about sticking my booty back, okay? And my chest is open. So what I typically see is this rounding of the shoulders. A lot of times we'll have dumbbells, right? And I see rounding. You want to pull the shoulders back. Okay, so pull those shoulder blades into the back pocket, okay? So that, not that we're clenching the shoulder blades, right? But we've pulled the shoulder blades down and around the ribs. That's where they want to be. Okay, so keep that prayer position. Press your palms together. Okay, now I'm going to talk about what's happening with the rest of the body so we can get into this hinge deeper. Okay, your feet are flat, but what I want you to think about is the space in between your feet. Okay, that space on the mat or on the floor that's in between your feet. I want you to try to separate the floor. So imagine if you could divide the floor by just pressing outbound into your legs. Okay, so you're gonna press out laterally into the outside of the leg. So those are your abductors, right? They take the leg away from the midline. You're gonna press out into the leg, and I want you to feel, right? What do you feel? You feel all the way, what I want you to think about is the feeling from the ankle all the way up to the glute, right? Did you just feel that light up? Well, now, go back, right? Take that tension away. Don't press out. Just hold. Do you feel it? Not as much, right? It's a little bit, right? We might feel the glute, right? Our belly button's pulled up and in. We're definitely active, but now I want you to go ahead and press out, and everything just lights up, right? Everything just lights up. So that's your hinge. So holding that connection of pressing outbound into your legs, go ahead and stand up. Okay, you're still pressing outbound. I'm still trying to separate the floor between my feet. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna soften my knees, and I'm gonna hinge from my seat crease. Nothing else changes. I don't round my shoulders, I don't round my spine, and I think about maybe slamming a door with my butt, like you're slamming it shut. Stick those sitting bones right back behind you, okay? And hold that position. You're still pressing outbound into your legs, and then stand back up. Okay, so that's a proper hinge. Now you can take that hinge to a single leg, right? Say you're in flamingo, and you're taking that same exact movement. My standing leg is soft in the knee. And I can't separate the floor, right, because I only have one foot on the ground. But I can hinge from the seat crease, keep my collarbone wide as I do that, and then I can extend that leg back behind me, and I'm still in that single leg hinge. Now this, in a single leg, you've got a lot more to think about, right? Leveling out your hips, keeping that right hip shining forward. So there's a lot more stuff. But in general, that is your movement pattern of the hinge. You need to focus on that seat crease, right? And a really good way to start people there is to have them put their hands right at that fold, right? So that you can kind of make a sandwich with your palms as you reach your hips back. Now, another prop, the yoga block or the Pilates ring, either would work great. I like to put the block right at the solar plexus, so below the chest, but above the belly button. You just want to put that there the long way. Put your palms on either side of that block. On the other opposite end of the block. Now, this hopefully will remind you to keep the chest lifted. The other thing you could do is put it right at your chest, okay, right at that collarbone area, the wide way. Put your hands on the other side. Actually, I think I like this one better. We're going to stay right here, okay? And that way, the shoulders won't round forward, right? That'll feel awkward with the yoga block there. So you're going to press into your yoga block, soften those knees. They're wider than your hips, okay, just slightly. And now from the seat crease, right, you're going to hinge forward, stick your sitting bones back, separate the floor with your feet, and that is your hinge right there. My shoulders aren't rounding because that would feel weird with the yoga block there. So I'm going to keep that collarbone wide and those shoulders down and back. And now I'm going to inhale as I stand back up. Good. Soften the knees, hinge, press outbound into the floor, reach your sitting bones back, and then come all the way back up. Okay, so hopefully that helps give you something if you're in practice or you teach. Either way, these are good things to think about to get deeper. Weights tend to throw a whole nother side of it in there, but the form and the movement pattern never changes. Okay, so you can do other things with that movement pattern, but when we talk about a hinge, we're working from that seat crease, okay, that flat back. I want you to think about that. All right, if you have questions for me, you can comment below this video. I will absolutely get back to you at some point, I promise. You can find me as JessPFit on social media, both Instagram and Facebook. I am better at Instagram, I'm not gonna lie, so that's a better way to find me if you wanna contact me over social media. JessPFit.com is my website. There is a contact link on that page where you can reach out to me as well. I hope to see you guys again soon. Take care.